Officer Carullo. I work it with our community resource unit.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
And we can't have you doing this in here, but we do help the homeless. That's what we do.
Okay, before you go any further, I'm going to put you on notice that this is a constitutionally protected activity.
Boom.
On a traditional public forum. And any attempt to remove me or have me leave this property would be a violation of my civil rights.
Okay. You can argue it all you want, and you can fight it in court, but you're going to end up going to jail. I'm trying to help you out. So
I end up going to jail for what?
Listen, for trespassing.
For trespassing?
Okay, they're going to trespass from here. Understand me. Listen me out.
Okay, I'll listen you out, and when I'm done, you listen me out.
I will listen.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be hard. If you go back and forth with it, you're going to go to jail, right? Okay. Then you go from a judge, and you can argue your point, but you're going to take that right.
So I'm a police trainer and instructor. I train and instruct military and law enforcement on various law enforcement disciplines to include constitutional law, case law, patrol tactics, etc. And so really excited to do this one. I've gotten a lot of love from Jeff Gray's followers. Shout out to Jeff Gray. I've watched some of his content for years now. So I always like watching him go out and support the homeless vets. As a veteran myself, I love that stuff. And so a lot of people asked me to respond to some of his shorts, just from my perspective as a veteran, as a law enforcement instructor and trainer. And so this video, I mean, it just is very demonstrative of kind of the same stuff we've seen. And, and I don't want to put intention behind anything, because I don't know this man's intention. I don't know this woman's intention. I don't know what their intentions are as law enforcement. I can't read their mind. But I do believe, regardless, there is a big training gap. And as you guys have seen me talk about on this channel, when we're talking about freedom of speech, especially on public sidewalks and traditional public forums, kind of what Jeff was saying, like, I love the fact that he came out and he just made it very clear to them, hey, I just want you to put on notice, I am operating within a traditional public forum. And the reason why I like that as a police instructor and as somebody that studies case law, somebody that studies constitutional laws, because that is what it says in the case law. So when we're talking about traditional public forums, and when we talk about sidewalks and things like that verbiage is used 3 times specifically in 3 large Supreme Court case precedences. So one of those being Hague versus CIO, 1939. The other one is Perry Educators versus Perry Educators, and that is 1983. And then Watchtower Bible versus Village of Stratton, okay? And that's 2002. And those Supreme Court case precedents has affirmed that traditional public forums, to include public parks, sidewalks, and areas that have been traditionally open to political speech and debate, are where the First Amendment protections are the strongest. And so the fact that he's coming at these officers immediately with the receipts, so to speak, immediately being demonstrative of his knowledge of case law, I think is huge and is great. And then, you see law enforcement fumble, right? I'm not going to sit here and hold water for something that goes against what we see from a case law perspective. As law enforcement, we have to operate within the rules. We have to operate within the Constitution. We have to operate within Supreme Court case precedents. Now, I know a lot of people don't like that, and you guys have made it evidently clear in the comment section below, but unfortunately, or fortunately, depending how you look at it, these are the guidelines, right? So the Supreme Court is the court of last resort. They get to, whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, our opinions are irrelevant. They are the court of last resort, and they get to make these interpretations. And they have made these interpretations in the aforementioned cases I just mentioned. And so, yes, people do have the strongest First Amendment rights in public forums, and I think that's really important. I also think it's important to realize, this idea that you're going to take the ride. Well, he has to realize, and he has to understand, law enforcement has to understand, okay, but if you're going to be the one that administers that ride, you have a chance of losing your qualified immunity, your 42 USC 1983. And so we've seen this happen time and time again, right? So we've seen law enforcement officers lose their qualified immunity. We saw that. We saw one police chief. We've also seen it with Sergeant Bolter there at Pembroke. So you can lose your qualified immunity, and you can lose it for violating people's First Amendment rights. So I think it's super important to realize that, and as law enforcement know, yes, I agree with the officer in one regards. It will be taken care of in the courts, but you will be taken care of in the courts as well if you violate somebody's rights. And again, that's made very clear in the qualified immunity statute, and that's made very clear by 42 USC 1983. So this idea that you can just be free of all accountability because it's going to be dealt with in the courts is laughable, and it's obvious that he does not know the case law or understand the precedent that he's actually going to set if he goes hands-on.